Thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet Voice You Know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by the Family Forest Carbon Program, where we help family forest owners get paid to improve the health of their woods. Well, despite lower sow numbers, Ever.Ag chief economist Lee Schultz said pork production hasn't decreased because of larger litters and market hogs being fed to heavier weights. When we look at variable farrow to finish returns, the returns to farrow to finish operations in Iowa through the years has seen variability, with 2023 going down as the worst in history with a $31.56 loss per head. The loss was cut to $1.09 per head in 2024 and is expected to rebound to a $15.31 per head profit in 2025. This is seen as all costs have increased except feed, which has been on the decline. It's not surprising to not see an increase in production with these losses, said Schultz. Thankfully, there are many tools available to allow producers to lock in a profit and not give up on the upside. The breeding herd at the end of 2024 was just over 6 million head, which is the smallest since 2015. Productivity of the sows continues to increase and break records at nearly 12 pigs per litter on average. This leads to a forecast of 0.7% increase in pork production. Weather can change the crops a bit, and the forecast for higher temperatures can affect livestock gains. Prices for corn and soybeans are expected to increase for the coming year. So, bottom line is, expect the effect will hit the pork industry. Today's weather brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
Dry weather for your Thursday. Friday doesn't look too shabby either. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at that Ohio Ag Weather Update. It's warm today after we bumped temperatures up a significant volume yesterday. We're going to stay right close for your Thursday. Good sunshine, good evaporation, fast drying here today. I think we put together a dry Friday as well, although clouds are going to be trying to build from both the north and the south, especially mid to late afternoon. That's ahead of some precipitation that spreads in here on Saturday. Through the day Saturday, I'm looking for scattered showers and a few thunderstorms. That lingers likely through Sunday, at least in central and southern Ohio. All in, all done, 1/4 inch to maybe an inch out of this with 95% coverage. I think almost everybody gets good rains through the weekend. Going into next week, Monday turns out partly to mostly sunny and dry. We stay that way through Tuesday and into early Wednesday. And then we have a hit and miss of scattered showers for the rest of the week. Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, early Friday. Starting to get some drier weather back to finish the week and go into the weekend. The 21st and 22nd right now staying completely dry. And I think we are going to stay mostly on that drier side until we get to the week of the 23rd. Late the 23rd, 24th, 25th, we see a slow moving front sagging southward out of the Great Lakes through the region here. That one could give us some soaking rainfall. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. Joining me is Sam Roberts from United Producers. And Sam, it's that time of the year that I get to catch up with you and you tell me more about the Ohio State Fair Commercial Cattle Show. What can you tell us about this year's event?
Yeah, we're planning to have a bigger, better show than ever. And I know we probably try to say that every year, but we do try to make improvements every year. We got some addition to our staff that's really been working hard to get out there, collect some sponsorship, and have a bigger and better show than ever this year. We are coming up on some deadlines as far as the entries. The entry deadline for the Commercial Cattle Show State Fair is June 21st at 1 p.m. Keep that in mind. We want to get the entries in. There is availability of late entries after that, but there is an additional fee when you enter. The show is scheduled for Saturday, July 26th. The cattle can move in either Thursday or Friday that week of the state fair. And then we will weigh the cattle on Saturday morning and show the cattle Saturday the afternoon. So it's not a big time commitment by any of the exhibitors. Bring them in Friday night, weigh them Saturday morning, show them Saturday afternoon, and we'll get them out of there Sunday morning. Try to keep that as limited as amount of time having to be there and those type of things. We've tried to get that down to a number where people can come and stay if they want to, But we know everybody's busy, so if they want to come in Friday night and show Saturday and take off, they can do that. We'll take care of getting the cattle out of there on Sunday morning.
It is a pen of three, and you've got several breakdowns in age groups and which cattle can be shown. Tell us more about that.
Sure. A couple years ago, we did start a junior division. That part is growing quickly. And honestly, that's what we wanted to see. We wanted to get young people involved in this. It's completely different than any other show that probably ever participated in showing cattle. It is commercial cattle. It is about the real world, about how the cattle perform, how the cattle look. It's not about how much hair they have and those type of things. The cattle are not halter broke. We would appreciate it. They didn't bring some real wild cattle down, but the cattle are not halter broke. They're showed in pen of threes. We have it all set up so they can come down alleys. We work all the cattle. There are a junior division and a senior division. The juniors can exhibit in both, and they do. We have 3 divisions. We do have a Holstein division. We have a beef on dairy division. That's a really big growing section of our business. Cattle are extremely high quality, so we want those cattle represented. So that would be a Angus or a hybrid black bull bred to a dairy cow. We have a division for those cattle as well as the native cattle. And then we would have, except in the Holsteins, they would be all steers, of course. The other divisions, we would also break those into steers and heifers, and then have a light, middle, and heavyweight pen or division of each of those breakdowns.
Sam Roberts, my guest, as he gives the details of the upcoming Ohio State Fair Commercial Cattle Show. The website for all the details and application is ohiostatefair.com. Again, the deadline is June 21st. The show is July 26th. Sam, thanks for the update. DTN retail fertilizer prices track continue to show the cost of most nutrients are higher than last month during the first week of June. For the 4th week in a row, prices for 7 of the 8 major fertilizers were higher compared to last month. Leading the way higher once again was urea. The nitrogen fertilizer was up 7% from last month. 6 other fertilizers had slightly higher prices, being DAP, MAP, potash, 1034O, UAN 28, and UAN 32. Anhydrous fertilizer was down slightly from last month. This week's article is written by Russ Quinn for DTN, and he says, every week when I write the weekly fertilizer column, I write the percentage change in prices for the 8 major fertilizers from both a month and a year ago in my notebook. Then it is somewhat easy to look back and go through the weeks to find interesting things in our fertilizer data. I started a new notebook on May 5th, he said, which is 5 weeks ago now. The first page of the notebook showed that prices for 3 fertilizers were lower than a year ago. The price of both MAP and anhydrous were down 1%, while the price of potash was 8% lower. 5 fertilizers were higher, DAP up 1%, urea up 2%, 1034O up 4%, the UAN 28 was up 6%, and UAN 32 up 13% compared to last year. Fast forward 5 weeks, and there have been big changes to nutrient prices during this time. The prices for the 2nd week of June showed that the price of only 1 fertilizer continues to be lower than 1 year ago, and that is the price of potash, which is down 7%. The prices of 7 fertilizers are now higher compared to a year earlier. MAP up 1%, DAP and anhydrous are up 3%, 1034O is up 4%. The fertilizers with the largest percent increases are UAN 28, now up 19%. UAN 32, which is up 22%, and urea is now up 24% compared to 1 year ago. It's time to check in for a weekly update from the Ohio Soybean Council and our soybean checkoff. Here's Dusty Sonnenberg.
I'm joined today by Philip Good. Philip serves as chair of the United Soybean Board. Philip, you recently went on a tour with USB. You visited with some of the major players in the media industry representing America's soybean farmers. Tell us a little bit more.
This media tour was really a jam-packed day. You know, we had the opportunity to have difficult conversations, some of those about challenges, what we're facing in the business place today on our farms. But we as farmers know that challenges are also opportunities. And so at whether it's at the United Soybean Board or on my farm, looking for those opportunities and truly feeling like, domestic markets are an opportunity for us right now to develop and to grow in. And so being able to highlight some of the things that we're doing with the soy checkoff and at the United Soybean Board. But I think one of the things that was probably the most surprising to me was the conversation around food or fuel and making sure that everyone understands that it's not an or, but it's food and fuel. And that was one that I think that there was some education that needed to take place, and that is something that we need to continue to strive and grow everyone, their knowledge base around food and fuel.
Again, my guest today, Philip Good, chairman of the United Soybean Board, and today's update brought to you by the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff.
And thanks, Dusty. We'll look at markets after this. Think biodiesel is just another fuel? Think again. Biodiesel is Ohio innovation on the move. Clean, green, and built to keep diesel engines running strong. It's an engine booster, a soybean supporter, and an environmental champion all in one. Every gallon reduces emissions, strengthens Ohio farms, and powers your ride. Drive with purpose. Choose biodiesel. Learn how at soyohio.org.
If your summer road trip leads you to Ohio's farm country, be sure to share the road with Ohio's farmers. Farm machinery moves slowly, makes wide turns, and needs extra space to avoid obstacles like mailboxes and guardrails. Let's all be mindful and make sure everyone gets home safe and sound this year. This message brought to you by the Ohio AgNet, OSU Extension Ag Safety and Health Team, and this station.
Today's market analysis is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company, excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. For marketing information for your beans to LDC, call 574-566-2113. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets mixed yesterday in a very tight trading range, all things considered. As we went through the day, I think it would probably not be wrong to say corn and wheat spent more time in the green than the red, and beans were the opposite, more time in the red than the green. However, when you look at the window of trade, it was only a few pennies either side, and so it was tough to get too super excited. The day started with a good amount of optimism for trade. Some of the biggest trading partners yesterday seem to be getting closer to deals. The U.S. and Mexico were nearing close to a deal to remove 50% tariffs on steel imports. The U.S. and China meeting again. Maybe they finish up here before the end of the week, but I felt that the way the president was talking after day 2, we were done, but day 3 was happening. Here's the problem. Everybody wants to get excited about the fact we're talking with China, but to this point this week, most of what's been discussed, rare earths, metals, and minerals, that's about it. None of the organizations that we're talking in the past few days were talking about anything agriculture specific, but it was spillover support that we saw in the markets yesterday. Energies bounced yesterday after a sell-off on a Tuesday. The weekly stocks report for the energy sector continues to prop that market up. For energy seasonals, the market moves higher at this time of year due to the increase in fuel usage. It's ag and construction season as well. Overall, the OPEC strategy of increasing output and the Trump administration's stance on drill baby drill are bearish long term. We're looking at bounces here to see if there's any kind of other talking point as we go forward. The other bearish part of the market that was talked about yesterday, the 10-day forecast, still bearish. All major growing areas are going to be seeing decent rains through the end of next week. Good for crop growth and development. Nothing here right now that says the crop is going to be small by any stretch of the imagination. I'm Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. Today's market's brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Overnight at the open, July corn down 1/4 cent at 4.36 3/4. December down 1/4 penny at 4.39 1/2. The July beans were down 4 cents at 10.46 1/2, while the November new crop was down 1/4 cent at 10.29. July wheat up 1/2 at 5.34 3/4. September up 3/4 at 5.49 3/4. Carry it clear to December. You're up 3/4, but at $5.71 1/4 cent. In livestock, June cattle up 75 on the day at $227.82. August down 17 at $218.02. The June lean hogs were up 22 to $103.37. July up 65 cents at $108.85. September feeder cattle, though they were down $1.95, that's still $310.80. The October feeder cattle down $1.70 at $308.85. That's the latest look at the markets. Don't forget markets, news, and weather always on our website at ohioagnet.com. Thanks for joining us. This is the Ohio AgNet.